I'm gonna stop with all of the anticipation. I want to introduce her. This is Carolyn Pierotti.
Oh, thank you.
Hello. Welcome to
Okay,
the show.
thank you. So first, I gotta
Okay.
say,
Talk to that person. What would you tell
I'd be like, baby,
them?
pull up your bootstraps and don't let anybody get in your way.
You heard? I love that. I love that.
Don't ever let anybody tell you get in the way of your happiness. Be honest here. Like it was the 80s.
This was the 80s as well
It
too.
is
Yeah.
right. Okay, I was
Yeah.
smoking a lot, and
Yeah.
like I graduated high school.
We're gonna
Okay.
talk all about it. We're
Oh,
gonna
all
talk
right,
all about
cool.
it. All right, so I think we're good. You ready?
I'm
All
ready.
right, let's get it. Let's get it. All
Okay.
right, y'all. So I want to say thank anybody for watching. That's right here. Hello.
Hey.
And anybody that's listening, welcome to the 1028 podcast. I got a special guest on here today.
He let me on the air.
God damn it. It's about to go down, guys.
It's gonna go down.
I'm just letting you know. She said it first. I'm just letting y'all know it's about to be a thing.
So anything
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm just gonna apologize for right now. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. No,
This
but I'm
this is no
so
holds bars right here, guys.
exactly
That's
no
what this is about to
censored.
be. No senses. We're gonna get
No.
straight to the shit.
Exactly
150%.
straight to
So
this shit immediately.
yeah.
So first, I'm so thankful.
We're gonna
Okay.
talk all about it. We're
Oh,
gonna
all
talk
right,
all about
cool.
it. All right, so I think we're good. You ready?
I'm
All
ready.
right, let's get it. Let's get it. All
Okay.
right, y'all. So I want to say thank anybody for watching. That's right here. Hello.
Hey.
And anybody that's listening, welcome to the 1028 podcast. I got a special guest on here today. Somebody whose work I admire, somebody whose journey, really, your journey I actually admire. And your work is just the cherry on top because it's like the residual of this beautiful journey you've been on. And I'm gonna stop with all of the anticipation. I want to introduce her. This is Carolyn Pierotti.
Oh, thank you.
Hello. Welcome to
Okay.
the show.
Thank you. So first, I gotta
Okay.
say,
Okay.
he let me on the air.
God damn it. It's about to go down, guys.
It's gonna go down.
I'm just letting you know. She said it first. I'm just letting y'all know it's about to be a thing.
So anything
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm just gonna apologize for right now. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. No,
This
but I'm
this is no
so
holds bars right here, guys.
exactly
That's
no
what this is about to
censored.
be. No senses. We're gonna
No.
get straight to the shit.
Exactly
150%.
straight to
So
this shit immediately.
yeah.
So first, I'm so
Yeah.
thankful that I'm here and
Oh,
thankful that you invited me. I've been wanting to do this with you
yeah.
for a really long time. I feel like
Yeah, I
you
mean, we
know.
talked about it. I think the very first time we met at Bob
Yeah.
Fryer's
Yeah.
show, we
Yeah.
came down to a TT. I showed you the podcast studio,
Yeah.
and you said when you're ready, we're gonna do it,
And we're gonna do it.
and it's time.
And
It's
it's time
time.
to do it.
Yeah,
So here I am.
here you
So
are.
we were
Yeah,
talking about my journey.
yeah,
So what
yeah.
do
And
you want to know about my
I
journey,
want I
sir?
want to know quite a few things. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But first, I want to know, you're an amazing artist,
My
and
thank you.
I've been following your work ever since the day I met you. It was like seeing what you had going then, and to see
Hmm.
where you're at now. And people, and it's great that the world caught up and they're appreciating. I'm seeing a lot of people. You're selling a lot of work. You're selling a
Yeah.
good bit of work here,
Yeah. I've
but
been lucky. Yeah,
you've
very.
been creating some amazing work, and I
Thank
kind of
you.
want to talk about how you got into art and how did this become the thing that you love, so
Well, it's like funny, when you're a kid, it's funny. There were things that I wanted to do when I was a kid. Realistically, before I even wanted to be an artist, I wanted to get into fashion, but I think that was kind of like a catalyst for me. So, I remember when I was a kid, oh my God, I used to love Vogue magazine.
oh my goodness, I
Okay.
still do. I
Man, that
still
was
do.
that was my jam. So, and that was in like the height of the 80s, the supermodels and all that. And I
Yeah.
used to have all of the pictures pasted up on my wall, but that's kind of when I started sketching
Mm.
and getting into figurative work, right? And then when I graduated from high school, I told my parents I wanted to go to art school.
Right.
And my parents were really old school.
Yeah, you can't really just say, "Oh, what you want to do art? How you going
You're
to make
not gonna
money?
make
How
any
you going to
money.
make money?"
You're
Is that
never gonna make
yeah,
money. And what are you
yeah.
gonna do with the rest of your life? And and
Do
let's
you
face
know any
it,
successful artists?
right,
Like all of
right.
those questions, right?
All the questions. And my dad was kind of like, no, he just came straight out and said no. So
Mm.
I was given a choice. They said, you can go to college
Okay.
we'll pay for that.
Okay.
And I was like, I don't want to go to college. Listen, let's be honest here. Like, it was the 80s.
It's this was the 80s as well
It
too.
is
Yeah.
right. Okay, I was
Yeah.
smoking a lot. And
Yeah.
like, I graduated high school literally with a 1.6.
I graduated with 1.5 or 1.58. One point and
Welcome
our stories is
to
so similar
you.
because I started as well when it came down to fashion. I always wanted to be I went to school for fashion merchandising for a little bit of time.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I feel like,
Yeah.
creatives, that was
Yeah.
it's all tied together. I think art,
Yeah.
fashion, it's all tied together.
Right, right.
But when I was in school, I had a really good time.
Me too.
So,
God damn.
that's
Yeah.
what we did. And
Yeah.
so my dad was kind of like, you can go to college, we'll pay for that.
Okay.
Or you can be a secretary, a nurse, or
Hmm.
a teacher.
That's it.
And yeah, and I didn't want to do any of those things. And then he said, "Well, or we'll get you a car and you can go to work." And I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna get a car. I'll
So
go to
that's
work.
what that was the fish line sinker. They hooked you in on
Just
that
give
one.
me the car."
You just
So
wanted the car.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I worked for a while.
Uh,
Didn't go to art school, and really art, I stayed away from it for like 20 years. Like
okay.
I worked. I became a secretary for Hills department stores. We all remember
Oh
Hills,
my goodness. I remember Hills. Y'all,
right?
if you don't know, then you just
You don't know.
you wouldn't survive the
If
90s.
no,
Yeah, you know what
no.
I'm saying? If
If
you
you don't
don't
know
know,
the
you weren't
snack
born.
bar,
Yeah.
if you don't know the popcorn of Hills, then you don't know.
You don't really know. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So for me, I when I turned 40, I got married. I had kids. I've been married
Okay.
3 times. Like I've had
Yeah.
this like rich, vibrant life. Got married
Right.
when I turned 40. My son was in preschool, right?
Yeah.
And I looked at my husband and I said, I really want to go back. I want to go back to school. And he was really supportive. He said, "Yeah, go
Okay.
back." So at the time, I didn't know what my choices were. I was a stay-at-home mom.
Hmm.
Um, and I didn't know the art scene in Pittsburgh at all. I kind of knew a little bit about CMU, but I went to Carlo. It was a smaller university, it was a Catholic university.
What did you go back for?
I went for my degree in studio art.
Ooh, so you actually okay? So
That's what I wanted to do. I was like, this is
right,
my time. I want to
right.
go back. And that's where I started my journey again.
Oh, see,
But I
that
waited a long time to go back.
I love that. And I feel like that's actually part of the process. I think there's a lot of let's just take it back just like for reference. There's a lot of kids that go to college right after high school.
Yeah, they're not
And
ready.
they say, what do you want to do when you grow up? You're 18 years old. You haven't seen the world.
Oh my God,
You have an
no.
experience, you have an idea of what may excite you, the idea, not
Yeah,
in practice. So sometimes I feel like it's important and not to maybe get a little life under your belt before you make that actual decision because
I so agree.
you'll have concrete evidence of things that you actually enjoy and things you actually don't enjoy. And
Hmm.
if you kind of just go in green, it's almost like playing the lottery and that really never works. You know what I mean? So it's like hopefully you find something that you actually love and you're not just doing it because your parents want you to do it. You're living their
Right.
life instead of living yours
That's
because
it. That's so
it's
true.
it's a whole thing. But I'm so happy that you said that because a lot of people are going to look at your work and they're going to say she had to be painting since she was a kid,
No,
and you
no.
was like, no, I took my time. I started. I took some time because life happened.
Yeah,
I lived a little bit,
yeah.
and then I found out. And then you got you. I know you got a lot of inspiration in that probably that time of things that you really want to represent with your artwork.
Absolutely. And I think
Yeah,
if like you said, I think if I would have gone to school realistically out of
yeah,
high school,
right.
I would have failed horribly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been
Barely
ready.
passed high school, goddamn. You know
Right?
what I'm saying?
I'd have been
Like
like, oh,
I
let's go to
st-
college to party. That's
yeah,
exactly
absolutely,
what would have happened. And
absolutely.
I know literally, even though I was working in my 20s,
Mhm.
I was going to clubs.
Yeah,
I was going out every night. I was having the best time of my life. And I don't regret.
that was the next question.
I don't,
Would you take
no,
any of that back? Would you
no,
redo any of that?
no.
I,
Any mistake I've made,
uh,
anything that's happened in my
yeah,
life has made me
that
what and who I am right now.
that right there for those listening, those watching, that's a gem. That's a gem. Don't regret anything. I
Never,
think
never, ever, ever.
everything that
No.
happens to you is
Mm-mm.
supposed to happen to you because
Yeah.
you develop the skills, you develop the experiences, you take that in, and it all builds you up into the person that you are supposed to become.
I
So
agree.
it's not about the falls, it's about what you're going to do about the falls. That's what a real that's the real difference. So
Right, right.
and what you do with them, because there's a lessons in all of that,
And
you
I
know.
think, back then too, I was a different person. I
Yeah.
was
Oh, I would love to meet that person, but probably not hang around that person too much because I know I'm getting in trouble. You know,
It's
that
funny
yeah,
though, like
yeah,
back then it like I was this, and I put it out there on Facebook. I put it out there on
yeah,
Instagram. I
yeah.
still like to have a good time. I
Yeah,
really
you
do.
better believe that.
I
You
do.
we still living. What are you talking about? I'm
Still
not.
having a good
I
time.
always, always,
Damn.
I always hate that. People are like, oh, I'm wait till I retire to do this. I'm not gonna. It's almost like I'm gonna wait till I die to live the best life. Like, no, no. I'm gonna live every day to the fullest. And when I get more experiences in my life and I have
Right.
more of an idea who I am, I'm gonna
Right.
do it even more. But actually, I'm gonna cater it to exactly what the fuck I like. I don't have to sit there and guess. And I'm gonna
Ex-
keep doing it. Yeah,
exactly.
you ain't
And I
gonna stop
think
me from living.
I think back then it was funny. I had a great time, but I was quiet and
Hmm.
I wasn't and there's still a lot of times like even people say to me, "You're so confident and you're so outspoken or whatever." And
Mm,
I'll be honest with you,
mm,
there's still this part of me, and I think as an artist, you're going to understand this
yeah,
too. There's still this part of you that wants that validation. And I think that's for
yeah.
every artist. That's why you put your work out there. And that is the hardest thing
Feel like you're naked in
all
front
the
of
time. And
everybody.
I think
Yeah,
if I would have produced art back then,
yeah,
I wouldn't have been ready for the criticism.
right,
I wouldn't have been ready for the critiques. I
right.
wouldn't have been ready to get torn down because there are times,
Yeah,
like I was really fortunate, going back to Carlo, I was
mm,
fortunate. My teachers there, my mentors there were supportive. It wasn't even when we had art critiques, they never tore you down. It
right,
was good criticism. But back then, I wouldn't have
yeah,
been ready
right.
whatsoever compared to where I'm at right now. But
Yeah,
I still have those moments. I'm terrified all the
Absolutely,
time.
absolutely. And that never, you're never going to lead. I always say courage is in the absence of fear is to try and triumph over it. And you got to be courageous in these moments that are going to happen because they're going to happen.
Right, right, for
But
sure.
I also want to take a step back. You know, you were talking about the right teachers. You know, the right people that brought you into the game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
What made them feel like, why do you say you were lucky to have them? What did they do that you don't see other people doing these days that you felt you know, what are some of
I
the key things that you enjoyed most about the
I
way they did?
think for me, the fact that okay, so where I went to school,
Right.
the classes were smaller,
Okay.
right? Maybe because I was an adult student too.
Mm,
And so learning for me was different than it was when I was in high school. Like I would go to class, I had an art history course, for instance, right?
mm-hmm.
And her name is Sylvia Rohr. She is actually, I think she curates at Pitt now. And her classes were so engaging. And so, I mean, the only way I could describe it, I felt like every time I went to her classroom, I was like taking a bite of an apple because it was just like so damn juicy. Like I was learning
That's a
something,
great way to put it. I love that. Yeah.
every
Yeah.
class there was something so interesting. And I'm a visual learner.
Okay.
So the way she taught, she was just very engaging. And any questions that I had, she was willing to answer. Same thing with my art teachers, very engaging, very willing, to listen to my questions, very willing to listen if I had a problem. And it was funny when I went to art school, I really thought, and I think a lot of artists think like this, and you got to get this out of your head.
Okay.
You do not need to be a realist to be an artist. You need to
I
understand
love that.
you need to
I
understand the
love that.
concept. You need to
Yeah.
understand.
I love
I had a
that.
really good friend, and there were two big lessons I've learned in my life. When I was at Carlo,
Mm,
I thought that I had to be a realist to be an artist when I
okay.
went there. I had a teacher, Bill DiBernardi, right?
Mm,
And we were learning, this class was, we had to base all these paintings off of the masters, right? And the one master, I chose Picasso, right? And I did a painting of the Green Stripe. It was his
okay.
wife,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. One of them.
And right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I was totally floored, like, oh, I don't have to use like a flesh tone in her face for it to be a good painting.
Right.
I don't have to use like a realistic color for it to make sense. I
Right.
don't have to have the shapes be totally like anatomically correct
Right.
for it to be an interesting or a good painting, right? So that's when
Absolutely.
I learned, wow, I can actually, as long as I understand anatomy,
Mhm.
I can skew it, I can stretch it, I can abstract it to be what I want it to be,
Well, that's what I love that, right? I
you
always
know?
say the only rules in art is there is no rules,
No,
but
no,
there is understanding of your surroundings. Just I mean, whatever way you want to do it is the right way,
right.
long as you're doing it.
True.
And you'll find
Very
and I
true.
feel like as you
True.
continue to grind, you'll find it. You'll
Yeah.
find that thing that makes you feel uh like you're getting whatever it is on the inside out. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks really either.
No,
You know what I mean? So
no, not at all.
but the one thing I hear about this, and when I heard you speaking was, they said you said they the way that they would critique, right? Because I feel like there's a difference between you know criticism and feedback,
Right.
and there's a way to do it without killing someone's
Yeah, I've been fortunate,
intention
yeah, with
and
critiques. I've been
yeah,
fortunate that way where those were the kind of critiques I had that it was more like a feedback kind of. So
right,
we would talk about the work. And even when I've given critiques,
yeah.
I learned a valuable lesson there on how to critique. So,
How do you do
looking
that?
at the work, talking to the artist, like, what do you think about it?
Mm.
What's important to you?
You hear that?
Where is your issue?
Mm.
Where's your problem with it? And then me looking at that problem and saying, okay, I understand what you're saying. Here's my thought on that. What do you think? And then going back and forth. And usually by the end of
Ooh.
that discussion,
Yeah,
the artist is like, wow, you gave me an idea I would have never seen. And that's usually how, in my mind, that's how a critique should go. It
right.
shouldn't be like, well, you know, you didn't do this or you didn't do that, so
Yeah.
it's wrong.
Yeah, you lost me already. Yeah, you lost me
It's,
already on that one. Yeah.
being wrong, again, I think that understanding art, understanding again anatomy, or understanding a process of doing something, like even printmaking,
All right.
understanding the process. Yes, you can get the process wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but we're not always talking about the process. We're talking about really how I'm transferring my idea into the work. And it's usually not even about the process that the artist is having an issue with, not
Right.
like the physical like steps of the process.
What would you
It's
think it is?
I think it's usually how they feel about their work.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, I
So
do
I feel
understand that.
like, what do you think about my work?
Hmm.
Not about the process. What do you feel about maybe the composition, like the color? It's
Okay.
just usually about what they're trying to portray or trying to put out.
Yeah,
And I think there's no room for tearing down there.
I
I
love it.
think it's just for conversation.
Yeah.
I think if you're talking about process, that is another issue,
Right. That's
right?
a whole different. That's a
That's
yeah.
teaching a method,
Right.
methodology, like, or teaching, like, okay, if I'm going to print make, you have to do this, this, this. Okay, you could talk about that, but when we're talking about art or presenting art,
Hmm.
we're talking about that also helps the artist learn how to talk about their art, because I think that's the
That
hardest thing to
that's the
do.
hardest thing to do. And I feel like more artists need. I think that's me myself. That's my bread and butter.
Yeah,
Because when I create, I'm creating with a purpose. I try to have as much of an understanding of why the piece, and not for anybody else, but it's for myself. I use my art as a journal to understand my feelings. So I really break it down, and then I bring that into the world when I show it. And a
yeah,
lot of times people say, "Man, you know every little nook and cranny of this." I said, "Well, it's not that I know every nook and cranny. I just know what my intentions became
yeah,
as the art piece is completed, and they tend to grow because other
yeah,
people see other things in it, and I just add that in there. But
right.
it is. I wouldn't say it's the most important part, but I believe it could help benefit you in your future work to develop that skill.
Right.
You
And
know.
that is, I'm going to say this right now, because when I was running a gallery,
Mhm.
you folks, you got to learn how to talk about your art. I know you hate
Whew,
it.
you got
You
to.
got to toot your own horn because
Yeah.
nobody's going to do it for you.
No.
Nobody's going to do it
No.
for you.
Not at all.
So pat yourself on the back.
Mhm.
Did a good job because,
That's the word. Yeah, that's the
exactly.
difference. Even the people that we study these days, a lot of them maybe weren't even the best at their craft in that genre, but they knew how to market themselves. They knew how to put themselves in the right
That's another
position.
thing. That's
Yeah,
another thing,
yeah,
marketing.
yeah,
We could talk all day about that
yeah.
too.
So what, let's move it forward.
Yeah.
Let's move it forward.
Yeah.
So you went to college.
Yes, I did.
You come on, say that shit one more
I went
time.
to
Went to
college. I went to
college.
college. I'm
and,
smart as
and,
hell. I went to
and
college.
come on with it. Bang.
And I graduated with a 4.0.
What? From a 1.5 to a
Yeah.
4.0
What
a
happened?
few years later. Not back to back, but that's yeah. So what happened next? As you graduated, where did you take your experiences, the lessons, the knowledge? How did that help you, get to where
It
you
was when
are?
I was in school. I did a lot of volunteering too. Like, I
Mhm.
highly recommend if you're in school and you're watching this,
Yeah.
get out there as much as you can now, volunteer. I got in with the Pittsburgh Society of Artists
Yes,
and I
yes.
volunteered with those folks and I became their exhibitions coordinator. And that's where I learned my love of curating art and putting shows together. So I did that for a while.
All right.
Um, and I'm going to be real with you. I had a bachelor's degree. I'm not saying I only have a bachelor's degree, but
Okay.
I do. I only
Yeah.
have a bachelor. I'm sorry, I don't
Yeah.
have a master's degree.
I barely got my high school diploma,
Shit.
so you know what I'm saying. Y'all
So,
judging on that? Then fine.
but I mean, that's a thing, I guess,
Yeah,
and it's hard finding a job in the arts. Let's
yeah,
seriously be real. Like,
yeah.
if you don't have a master's degree in the arts,
You're not really getting into the
it's
museums
fucking
or
hard. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you though, nobody's paying.
yeah.
I'm gonna say that out loud too. I don't give a
Okay,
shit who hears it.
come on with it.
Nobody is paying the way they should. Period. Because art is hard work.
Period.
Just saying that
Period.
right
It's not.
out
It's,
loud.
it's not just painting and putting something on the wall and say, "Oh, it's pretty. You should buy
Right.
it." Nah,
Uh,
nah, nah. You gotta.
no, there
There's
are a few people to pay. So I don't want to like
yeah.
totally, say, oh, this person doesn't. But
Majority.
there are big people that don't
Yeah,
pay.
majority,
Just saying.
majority, and they take it for granted, man. And it's okay. It's all right. And
Right.
we
Right.
got a whole podcast coming for those people too. I'm gonna say hello. How you doing?
Hello.
You
Yeah.
go to speak up.
Right. So I
Yeah.
mean, I did the Society of Artists and then I started my own LLC. I saw a need for so I'm like I can't get a job, right? So
So you created your
I
job.
created my own damn
That's what
job.
I'm talking about. That's the
So
artist way right there.
woo, so I made
Hello.
my own job, created it called it Purple Room Fine Art, which was named after my dining room because my dining room was all
That's where the
purple.
purple room came from.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I did one of my very first paintings. It's called Purple Room. It's still on my website. I haven't sold it yet. Eventually I will. But I still have it on my website. That room was my favorite room. Named my business after it. I would go to businesses
Mhm.
and knock on the door and say, "Hey, why are you putting IKEA art in here? When we have so many artists here in Pittsburgh. We do. We have so many artists here that maybe aren't getting shown by galleries. They're not getting into the museums, or they're afraid to approach galleries because, galleries can be scary. I mean, there are good galleries here in town, but
Right.
not every gallery is going to take a certain kind of work, right?
That's
But I
true.
would
That's
go out
true.
to businesses and say, hey, we have a lot of artists. Instead of putting this IKEA stuff up, why don't you take some
Mm.
Pittsburgh people?
And
And I
they would
did
be
that. I
exactly.
did that. I was really lucky. I worked
Yeah.
with it was called Chromos Eyewear down in Lawrenceville. They were
Yeah.
like a subsidiary of iTeak,
Okay.
right? And I would bring artists in there and I would show their work. And God rest his soul, Natik was one of my
Jalil,
artists.
Natik Jalil,
Yeah,
shout out to you, man, and God rest
seriously.
your soul.
And you're, yeah,
Beautiful, beautiful, one of the
beautiful
most,
work and,
but
beautiful wife and
beautiful
my heart
wife,
too, guys,
yeah, beautiful
So,
person.
but I remember
Um,
meeting him. He lived here in Sharpsburg.
yeah, he
And
told me that too.
he did. He
They
lived
told
up
me,
he
yeah,
lived up the hill. It's when he
yeah,
first came back here, I feel like. And I went to his house
yeah,
and we looked at his work and I was like my fucking socks were blown off by his
absolutely.
work. And I was like, "Listen, I really want to show your stuff,
Hmm.
So he was like, "Oh, that'd be great." You know, he was always really fucking humble. Like he
Yeah.
was one of the most talented artists here in town, and he was always
The
humble, and he
most
was all
humblest person.
yeah, the most humble person I ever met.
Man.
And I took his work down to Chromos, and we showed his work, and after that, like he just did so much shit. I loved him to
Yeah.
pieces. But anyway, I was down at Chromos. I would do that for a while, and then I just, went on my own path. Bob Ziller reached out to me. There was a gallery that he was running out in Wilkinsburg called Percolate Gallery.
Yeah.
He got something was going on with him, and he was like, "Listen, I can't run this anymore. I know you got tools in your car."
How, let me ask you a question. Let me stop you right there.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
long did it take to get to that point from graduation?
Oh, I'm gonna say like 6 years.
Okay. Okay.
Long time. So like, if
Yeah.
you think it's gonna happen overnight, it's not. Don't think it is. I
Yeah.
like for some people maybe.
Nothing great happens
No,
overnight.
no.
Nothing
And
great happens
art
overnight.
is a grind.
Yeah.
It's a fucking grind
Right.
all the time. I'm constantly, and I know you know
Yeah.
this too.
Yeah.
You're constantly working. What's the next thing? And you have to be willing to do all kind of stuff.
Right. It doesn't just stop in the studio, man. It
No,
doesn't even start in the studio. It starts before
no.
that. You know, yeah, it's a hell of a grind. And that's where you just gotta find a way to love the process. And I still wouldn't trade it for anything
I wouldn't
else.
either.
I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
trade it
trade it
for
for.
anything else, man.
No, I wouldn't.
But you're absolutely right. Let's drop those gems on them.
Yeah,
It's a grind.
it is a
It's a
grind all
grind.
the
And
time.
it's a 24, it's not a shift, it's a lifestyle.
It is a
You know what I mean?
lifestyle. And I was
Yeah.
fortunate enough, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I got this thing coming up. Can't run this space anymore.
Mm,
I know you got tools in your car. I
mm.
can't think of anybody that I would rather have run my space than you." And I was like fucking floored
I know that's right.
because I had my space and
Mhm.
I was able to curate a bunch of great shows there. I was there for like 3 years, brought in a lot of local people. I brought in some women that wanted to curate, My goal for that space, and I think it's so important, is to really bring up folks that maybe don't have the opportunity to necessarily show all the time.
Absolutely.
Because they're,
Absolutely.
galleries, I mean, I get it. I
Right,
get it.
right.
At the end of the day, like, they really want to sell the work. It's not just showing
Yeah.
about good work, it's about selling the
Yeah,
work.
it's a business. It's the
Right,
art and then there's the art business. This is part
right,
of the art business,
right, right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my thing was, maybe we're not going to sell all of your work, but we're going to get you seen
That's it. That's it. Which
and
is
give you the experience because
yeah,
it's an experience, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
my greatest joy, and I will say this till the day I die, was seeing the art on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And when the artist walked in
I
and they're like, "It looks so good." And you're
look,
like, "Yeah, it does." And
that's
they're so happy. And
that
for
does
me,
it. That's the win. That's the
that's the
win.
win.
Yeah, that's the win.
Yeah.
For me, it was. I'm gonna take it just one step further than that. It was that artist seeing the work on the wall, but seeing somebody else come in and appreciate it and look at it,
Yeah.
and they get to sit back like, oh my goodness, they stopped
Yeah.
at my piece. The
Right.
look, I got chills just when you said that. I literally got because that's the thing that I love the most. Is like when somebody looks at it and asks the question, and now we got a conversation.
And
That
you're
piece.
talking about your art again.
Hello.
Remember,
See
hello,
where that went? You see where
toot
that
your
went? You
horn.
see where that went? That to
Right?
me is the greatest opportunity because I feel like to me, and this is my opinion, the best art in the world creates conversation. And so when a lot of times when I'm doing pieces, it's to have those conversations. And when I can have them, it means the world to me. That to me is the win. And the more conversations I have, the more stories I get to tell, and the person looking at the work
Yeah.
has a better idea of what the work means, which means they have a higher probability of not just looking at the work, but a higher probability of actually purchasing it because they,
Right.
they got a backstory.
Right.
It's one
Right.
thing to know about, what you see, but if you know why it's there, and it changes the way of how you see it. And then the
Exactly.
connection develops. It's a whole thing, man. It's like I said, it's not just art on the wall.
No,
I
and I
love it.
think
I love it.
when somebody comes in and you can connect to them on that human level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if the best way to learn how to talk about your art is just talking to, like, you're talking to a friend and telling them, what you were feeling about it at the time. Or it doesn't have to be, a lot of artists think that it has to be this big thing.
Yeah.
listen, I understand the importance. We'll talk about this too, like the
Yeah.
artist bio and
Yeah.
artist statements and all that stuff.
I'm still working on that stuff.
Like
Yeah.
vocabulary, the art vocabulary. I think if you can just talk about your work,
Mm.
I talk to people about my work at a human level.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a mom. At the fucking end of the day, I'm a mom. A lot of my work is
That's
about
why.
being a mom,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is about feeling drained and tired and maybe not pretty all the time
Mm.
and self-conscious about what I look like in the
You're
morning.
fucking gorgeous.
Thanks. And
I got
about getting old,
it. Yeah.
um and if you can talk to I if I look at another woman and I'm like, I know you think I'm this rock star, or yeah, I know you think I'm this, but you know what? I have my days where I go in my bathroom in my shower and I cry, or I'm in my studio and I'm alone.
Mhm.
And I know you feel alone too. And just connecting to somebody on that level, I think that's the most important thing, to be honest with you, like when you're
Yeah.
talking about your work.
Mhm.
And I think as an artist, you almost have that obligation.
Yeah.
It's a gift
Yes.
God gave you, right?
Yeah.
Share it.
That's
Don't
it.
hold it back, and
Yeah.
talk about it because He
Right.
gave you that gift for a reason.
Your dopeness is needed in this world, and the world needs to see it. It really does. And like you said, it's kind of like you said, it's that room. You have
Mm-hmm.
to bring people into the room that you're not willing to let too many people in. That's why I say when your
Yeah.
work's on the wall, you feel vulnerable, you feel naked.
It's uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I say if I'm gonna be naked, I'm gonna double down. You know what I'm saying? I know it's weird. That was weird, but I'm gonna double down, and I'm
It
a
got
yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
quick.
That was, but that's what I do though. It's like okay, you're already in here.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go there. Let me take you through this journey of this place that's in my mind, and where we can sit down and under a tree and sip pina coladas and talk. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
for sure.
It's a thing, man. It's a thing, but it's important. It's
It is.
important.
It's very
Yeah,
important. I agree.
yeah.
I agree with you.
So okay, so you started curating, right?
Yes.
We're about maybe about 6 years in. You started curating. You went to
Yes.
Wilkinsburg. You started that whole thing, and this wasn't the end of your journey. This was kind of the beginning. So what?
It was the beginning, I think, of my journey in a lot of ways. So when I ran the space, there were a lot of reasons why I left the space. There were
Okay,
a couple reasons, to be honest. So my father got really sick.
okay,
I am an only child, so and my mom is gone. So I had kids. I had three wonderful children, and to be honest with you, my marriage wasn't going great. To be, fully transparent, shit happens, right?
that's true.
But I had to take care of my dad, and I didn't want to give up the gallery, but I had to.
Mm,
Um, and that was super unfortunate. But anyway, it allowed me to take a step away because curating and creating a space for other people
mm-hmm.
is very tiring. It can suck you dry. I hate to say it, but
Yeah,
you're there all the time.
all the time,
And
24/7.
you're giving a lot. And when I was running it, I don't regret it. I don't regret it at all. I learned so much. I learned how to promote a show. I learned how to write a press release. I learned how,
PR
right,
package.
PR
Yeah,
package, right?
yeah.
I learned how to hang a show.
Mm.
I learned how to curate. I learned how to market things, right, effectively. But
What
at
you
the
do
end
in
of the
art?
day, my own practice
Mhm.
was pushed aside.
Absolutely.
So I got back into my own practice,
Mm.
which was great. And then I did get a job at one point at Swickley Sweetwater Center for the Arts. I was only there for a couple months. There were some good things happen there, not so
Yeah.
great things either, but it was just not for me. And then I had another show called Transference, which was wonderful.
What was that at?
That was at Thought Robbers Gallery
Oh,
down in the
Thought
West.
Rappers. I knew
Shout
you were
out to
there.
them,
Shout out to y'all, Fran and all y'all, man. Really
right?
appreciate y'all. Love
Yeah,
y'all.
so they do the thing. So
Yeah,
they do a
yeah,
lot of local art. So
yeah.
shout out to them. If you've
Shout out
never
to
been there, go
Go.
because they're amazing. Fran
Absolute
does
West End, baby.
yeah, West
Yes,
End,
sir.
so
Stand up.
shout out to them. So they showed my work. I did a show called Transference. I was there for a week and I sold 80% of that show. Market.
Beautiful,
Market your shit,
beautiful. That's where it's at. How
right?
did how speaking of marketing,
Hmm.
how did you market that show to get people out there to show them where you're at? Like
So I was thinking outside of the box. I got sponsors. And Fran even said this to me. She's like,
mm.
I've never seen anybody do that.
You said that to me earlier, and I was like, "You mean what?" I said,
Sponsors. So I wanted, again, to do certain things at that show. I wanted to have a DJ.
mm-hmm.
I wanted to have printed material, which is expensive. And I wanted to have booze. And I didn't want to buy it.
I got you.
All right, I'm broke.
Yeah,
I'm a single mom.
you're
I didn't
making
want to have to
money.
do it,
Yeah,
right? So I'm like, hey, I have a website and I like to promote local businesses anyway. So I reached out to certain people and I said, hey, if you sponsor my event, if you give me so much money, I will put you on my website.
right.
Okay. I will promote you. I will put you in my press release. I will make sure if you send me an image of your logo,
Mhm.
I will send all that out to the masses, promote you everywhere that I promote myself.
Absolutely.
When, again, when I do the press release, when I put you on my Facebook event,
Mhm.
when I put you in the city paper, when I put you in Artsburg, you're going to be everywhere.
Right, because you now know how to create a PR package. You probably have
Right.
connections from the
Right.
previous occupations that you had,
Right. Right.
and you know how to send that thing out. So,
So you just got to work it a little bit, folks.
use a bad mamma jamma. I can tell you that much. I ain't said that since the '90s, but I like that. I like that saying. We got to
I'm
bring that
trying.
back. Back, you a bad mamma
Mamma Jamma,
jamma.
that's
I
right,
love
a badass bitch.
damn Skippy. I love.
So I
All right.
mean, so I got sponsors
Yeah.
for it, and it paid for my alcohol,
Hmm.
it paid for my printed material,
Absolutely.
and it paid for, yeah, printed material, DJ, and alcohol. It
Right.
paid for all of that. So marketing, going back to it, you have to get outside of the box, the art box. Because, folks, when you have an art show,
Mm-hmm.
who comes to the art shows? Everybody that's an artist.
Yeah, which
Okay.
is there's two sides to that coin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I have been trying really on my own too, not just to show at the regular places.
Mm.
I've been doing outside of the box kind of thinking where I've been invited to an event. Like I
Right.
did like a yoga event. I
Yeah.
was invited to.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, that was a beautiful one. Tell them about that one because I've seen it in your
Okay,
post.
right. So
Tell them about that.
I sold four pieces
Ooh.
there. I sold three out of going to
Some of
this
my
event.
favorite too.
Okay. So out of just going to the event.
Yeah.
So this is where you have to get out of your shell, folks, because I
Right.
know you don't want to talk about yourself. And I know you don't want to get out there. And I know you don't want to network because, oh shit, you got to meet people. Well,
Yep.
guess what? We're out of the pandemic. And I know listen, if you have to go, fucking put on a mask. I don't give a shit what you do, but you got to go and talk
Which is
to
kind of
people
dope.
in person.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah.
So I went and I showed my work. That day, I sold a 36 by 36, and then I sold two other pieces that I had with me. And because I was there, somebody said, let me have your card. I really want to see your work.
Yeah.
Sure, no problem. Here's my card. They went to my website. And then, folks, it's
Absolutely.
called follow up.
Referrals are important. It's everything.
Call after the fact,
Yeah.
say, hey, I'm so glad I met you. Get their card too.
Mm.
This is so important. It's called
Yep.
follow up.
Right.
Hey, I'm glad I met you. Did you have a chance to look at my website?
Mm.
Did you have a chance to look at my art? I was really going to look at it. No problem. Give them a couple weeks. Reach back out. Listen, you got to ruffle some feathers if you want to sell some work. That's
Fair
all
enough.
there is to it. Like, if you
Right.
don't get out there, and this is where you have to get outside of yourself. Like, I know there are a lot of artists that are like, then you're not going to sell your work. That's all there is to it.
That's
And it's an unfortunate reality, but you
yeah.
really have to
Right.
get out there.
Right. And this is I mean this is the same in anything as well. I'm not saying as anything, but in a lot of business that's just how it works. The
Yeah,
follow-ups, the
it is.
referrals,
Yep.
these type of things. It is good to have an understanding of that process and how those things work. So I would say if you are a new artist out there to not just study the art business, but maybe study businesses that in general, and
Yeah.
just see how people approach it.
Yeah.
Salespeople,
Right.
customer service people,
Yep.
how did they, how do they make cold calls and all those type of things.
Yeah.
Having that information is so valuable because that's real life, concrete stuff that you're going to have to use hitting these streets. It's just part of it.
True.
It's
I mean,
part of it.
going
Yeah,
into businesses and
yeah,
seeing like,
yeah. Because you are a business.
right, you're a business,
Yeah.
right? So even going into a business
Mm,
and looking at the business and thinking, wow, my work might look good here, but I'm afraid to talk to the business owner. Why?
yeah.
What's it going to hurt? So just a shout out to you,
Okay. All
okay?
right.
Because you have work.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing work, by the way, at the government center, right?
Oh.
Batty. And, so you have to go out there and ask and not be afraid. But I think as far as marketing goes, somebody was like, "Yeah, how are you selling so much stuff?"
Mm-hmm.
I follow up and I just keep putting it out there. Eventually, like it takes usually there were studies done
Okay.
literally that for somebody to really see you or see something,
Yeah.
you have to see it a few times, right?
Yeah. It's
It's
called
like a jingle,
yeah.
right?
Forgot what it's called. Something effect. It's called the. It's almost like a commercial. You have to watch a commercial more than once for it to
Right.
actually hit you and say, okay,
Right,
that's
but
it.
eventually, like when I post on
Threshold or something.
Facebook, right?
Yeah.
And that's another thing, demographics, right? Where's your demographic at?
Who are you selling to? Who's your
Yeah,
audience?
who's your audience? So
Yeah.
for me, my audience are folks that are 40 and above. Like
Mm-hmm.
if I really look at my analytics or look at, who's buying for me, I have women that buy for me, but it's usually 40 or higher. Facebook is a great market for that because I'm not saying we're old, but we're older. It's an older market on Facebook than it
Yeah.
is Instagram. I get views on Instagram. Do I sell work from Instagram?
No.
No,
No. It's
but I get views from Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook is more honest. I think people that a lot of the older generation are willing to do the jumping around. They're not,
Yeah.
people from Instagram are willing to go to TikTok. They're willing to go to Reddit.
Yes.
They're willing to go where if you started on Facebook, it's like Facebook's enough.
Yeah.
I think they're
Yeah. I
just a
agree.
little more honest and more consistent. But yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut in.
No, no, no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
no. Truthfully, I
yeah.
think that for me, that's where I'm finding my market is.
Okay.
And again, it's just the follow up and posting all the time. I'm sure people are tired of seeing
I
my
love
damn
seeing your post, and
it's all the time.
because actually I know when I don't see your post.
People
Yeah,
worry.
no, no, no. I enjoy it. You switch it up too. Like that's something I wanted to talk to you about as well because I mean you entwine your art, but you also entwine yourself, right? I know
Yeah.
who it feels like
Yeah.
I know who you are as
Yeah.
well as what you do,
Yeah.
and also you're unapologetic. You are who
I don't
you
give a
are.
shit. That's right.
Authenticity is
Yeah.
real, and I
I
feel
don't care.
like that's something that's a lot of people have a hard time being their true self,
Yeah.
and you don't seem like you have anything to hide.
No,
You know.
I really don't. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing is, I think I'm at the age now where I really just don't give a shit.
Mm.
I've lived my life and I've done some fucked up shit in my life, like realistically. But, at the end of the day, you have to laugh at yourself.
I say that shit all the time.
You got to laugh
I
at
love that.
yourself,
I love it.
you
I'd
know?
rather laugh than sit there and dwindle in my tears or something,
I
drowning
mean,
my tears for what?
yeah, and I mean, you have to
Uh,
have a good sense of humor. And
yeah.
so I post some really inappropriate stuff. I'm sure, like, if you follow me, you'll see my, like,
It's
on my
hilarious.
Instagram feed, or like, about my dating life. Everybody does. I'm
Yeah.
always on Facebook talking about that shit.
And
But I
we're
mean,
gonna talk about something else
oh
with that as
shit.
well. Yeah, we're about
But
to talk about something else with that too. Go ahead,
yeah,
go
but I
ahead, go ahead.
mean,
Yeah.
I think that you have to. I know there are a lot of artists that you do specifically. Yeah, your Instagram page. I mean, my Instagram page is a lot of business, but like my stories, sometimes I throw
Yeah.
some real funny stuff up
Which I
there.
enjoy. I enjoy that.
And then
Yeah,
I throw
yeah.
some art in there,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
then I throw some funny stuff in there, and but I've tried to keep, I think, my posts
Mhm.
pretty consistent with just art stuff. And you know who told me to do Bob Fryer?
Yeah, Bob. Yeah.
Bob Fryer is another one that is really doing a lot of good stuff,
Stuff. I
and
talked
he's
to
a
him yesterday.
marketing fucking guru.
He truly is. Truly is.
I mean,
Truly is.
seriously, if you don't
Yeah.
follow him, you should. I'm always about
Absolutely.
promo and people, but like
Yeah.
follow him. If you don't know how to market yourself,
Follow Bob.
follow Bob
Follow Bob.
because he knows
Absolutely.
what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like a lot, like him and I will actually talk to each other and I'll be
Yeah.
like, hey man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Can you help me out a little
I
bit?
talked to him yesterday about. I told him you were coming today.
Yeah.
He was like, he's so excited about this sit down. But he was like,
Yeah.
he was mentioning those
Yeah.
things as well.
But there are people that are
Yeah,
really good at it and he's one
yeah,
of them. But
yeah.
that's how I market.
And
So,
you know when you said when you're marketing, you want to find your audience, right?
hmm
So how long did it like? How did you find out who your audience
it just takes
is?
time. It takes
Yeah.
time.
How much time did it take you? You would think.
Honestly, until like I feel like recently, because I showed at galleries, right?
Mhm.
But even at a gallery, you really don't know who your audience is
Yeah. I wonder how you get the
because,
data.
because the gallery owner is there, but you're not there all the time,
Right.
right? And so you don't know who's coming in and out. Like I know historically, like people that have bought for me, I had a professor buy a piece of my work from Box Art Gallery, I think, at one
Mhm.
point. But like honestly, prior to that, I didn't do a lot of gallery sales.
Yeah.
I didn't start selling a lot of work until I'm going to say in the last couple of years.
Well, you know what? Instead of saying who purchased your work, why did they purchase your
I
work?
think it was a lot of people that just were really interested in, it wasn't even just about the work. It was about, again, what I stand for.
Okay,
And
there
who,
we go.
I think a
Yeah,
lot of people can connect to me,
right.
you
And
know?
what do you think those things are that you stand for that resonated with them?
I think maybe, for women, it's just about being a mom and really, I don't know, struggling. And a lot of my work, again, is about that. A lot of it is.
Mhm.
Then a lot of my newer work that I was doing here a couple of years ago when I had the show at Thought Robbers, Transference,
Mhm.
was about, really transferring. Transference is a psychological term, and it's about transferring your feelings into someone else, right?
Mm.
Well, instead of transferring my feelings, I was transferring my feelings into my work. And I think the paintings that I did for specifically for that show, a lot of it was about what I was going through at that time in my life. So I think it could connect to anybody.
You know, what were some of those things that you kind of highlighted in that show?
I think a lot of the things that I was highlighting at the time, I was going through some stuff with my kids.
Hmm.
I was going through some personal shit. I was getting divorced.
Okay.
I was getting out of a really abusive, and I don't really talk about this. I was in a really abusive relationship after I got divorced for about 9 months. Um, he was verbally abusive.
Mm-hmm.
I had never been in a relationship like that. And so that entire year that I was painting, that body of work was about that journey.
Okay.
And I didn't really realize it until the end of that.
You had to look at it from a distance and kind of like, okay, gave you some
I was
space.
like, oh my God.
You painted that whole thing.
Yeah,
You documented it.
I documented that whole journey through that show.
You know,
And now that I look back on it, yeah, it was pretty scary,
this is
to be
why I was
honest.
so excited to talk to you
Hmm.
about your journey, right? Because you know, it's one thing to live, it's also one thing to be open about, you know, those trials and tribulations, right?
Hmm.
And put it out there. And not just like you found the words to explain what I think a lot of people aren't don't even know how to explain it yet.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking a few weeks ago about this project that you wanted to do that kind of represents your journey,
Yeah.
you know, when it comes to maybe even, I mean, you would be a phenomenal podcaster. And I would, oh yeah,
We're thinking about it,
blink
folks.
twice, you know? Yeah. You see what I'm doing there?
All right.
Yeah, I just said it's a thing because I feel like you have not just your journey, but the way you talk about your journey, and even the way the things we're talking about here today. I can
Yeah.
tell you right now, this is one of the most valuable podcasts I've sat down and done.
Oh,
And I'm not
thank you
saying
so
that
much.
because you're sitting here. I'm
Thank
like
you.
I'm really
Thank you.
listening, you know, because
And
you know,
I think too, like, artists, and I gotta say this out loud because we're taping this too. I feel
yeah,
like we keep a lot of things inside, and a lot of our time we spend alone because we're painting or we're doing whatever we're doing.
right,
Um, and I know I get in this headspace
mm,
where I'm not okay.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of us get like that. And I think the most important thing I've learned over the last year is to try to get out of that and get with people and talk with people. I'll be honest, again, we're talking about that relationship I had,
Right.
getting out of that. Um, be fully transparent, I was drinking a lot too over the
Mm.
last couple years. It was becoming an issue, a huge issue, not just because of the pandemic, because I was really depressed and really sad and getting in this headspace, where I'm like, I'm alone.
Mm.
Um, I have nobody, but you need to be able to, again, artists, you got to get out of that.
Right.
And you
And
got to be able to talk about that
right.
because I think we all suffer with it a little bit. I think we just don't
Yeah.
discuss it,
And I always say art is my medicine. I got to take it because that's what I use
Yeah.
my art for as a
Yeah.
coping skill. Likewise, I used to also, be heavy into alcohol and many other things as well.
Right.
And thank goodness, the universe gave me this thing called
Yeah.
creativity to
Yeah.
express myself in certain ways. I'm a lot more honest, and I think everybody is a lot more honest and are the things we create than what we say even.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, for sure.
some things I put on that paper, like you said, I don't even know what it is until later down the line as I get some time. Like, oh, I just documented that.
Yeah.
It's a therapy, and
Yeah, for sure.
and it's that's what I'm saying. This creativity is it's great to put it out there, but if you are just watching because you want to tap into your creativeness for therapeutic value,
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, because
I
this is a
think it's
medicine.
important. Yeah,
This
I
is a
think it's
medicine.
important. And I
Yeah,
didn't realize what I was doing,
yeah, yeah,
again, that whole year
yeah.
that I was suffering,
Absolutely.
but the work was beautiful,
Yeah,
but each piece was about my suffering,
yeah.
and I think that's important. I think it's important to, I don't know, I think it's important to discuss, and not just with your work, but again, with people around you,
With people around you.
for sure,
I
for
love
sure.
this. I love this. And I feel like, I mean, we tapped on a good bit and you definitely gonna have to be a second offender. But before, oh yeah, for sure, for sure. This is the first offense right here that you're doing right now, but you're gonna be a second offender and you know what I mean? It's gonna be a thing. Um, can you tell the people where they can find you at and where they can see your beautiful work as well as your website?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to see my work, you can find me at www.purpleparati.com. That is my website.
Yeah.
You can go to Instagram, Purple Parati, I think on
Oh
Instagram.
yeah,
That's a damn, that's
yeah.
a damn shame. I don't even know my own Instagram
You
handle
post on it all the
all the
time.
time, but I don't know my own handle. I don't even know what the hell. And then I'm on
Yeah,
Facebook under
yeah,
Carolyn Pierotti, so you can
yeah.
just find me there. So I'm there. I know I did this, which I'm
Right.
super fucking excited
I
about.
am too.
I'm thinking about doing my own podcast. We were
Yes.
talking about
We need
that.
that. We need that in this world. We need
I
that in this
really do.
world.
I think,
Yeah.
women, we got some issues.
Yeah. And you the way you smiled at the camera after you said
Cause we
that.
got the issues, I'm 50. Shit,
Let's talk. Let's
we got
talk
this
that talk,
menopause
man.
shit going on. It ain't okay.
Yeah.
So we got these issues. But anyway,
Yeah.
you don't
Yeah.
got this issue, but I got this
I
issue.
mean,
But
I
so,
do. I kind of do because I live in this world with y'all, so I need to
so
understand some of this shit. Yeah, I need to be aware. I need to know danger
when
when
it's
it's there.
coming,
Yeah, when it's there.
be aware when it's
You
coming
gotta
because it's
identify
coming.
you gotta
It's
identify
coming.
the problem first
So,
before you solve it.
I'm hoping to do this
Yeah.
again with you. And then I
Yeah.
have something coming up at the end of April. I really can't talk about it yet,
Okay.
but it is going to be a ticketed event. It's going to be at this farm, Rosalia Farm, where I did the yoga event,
Ooh.
right? And we're going to have it catered. It's going to be a live band, and we're going to have cocktails.
Hey. Yeah, we talked a little
And
bit about that too, that whole process.
yeah,
So
so that's going to be coming up at the end of April. I just can't, I don't have a lot of information yet on it because I
yeah.
feel like I need to collect some more things before I like vomit it out and
I
tell you about
got you.
it.
I got you. And maybe there's a sponsor too that's watching that may actually want to be participate in that
Yeah,
event. So
absolutely.
I'm just saying, you gotta
And
talk about it.
and I'm just saying this, if anybody ever wants to sponsor him because he,
Ow, ow.
ah,
Come on. All of
bring
this.
it in,
All
all
of
of it.
jazz fingers. All right. Well, Carolyn, there's one thing I always ask anybody that sits in the
Yeah.
seat. If you were able to talk to the person that started this journey, if they were sitting across the table from you,
Oh,
and you had a piece of advice for them, or you had something to tell them, what would that thing be? If you were sitting across from the younger version of yourself when you first started this journey, and you were able to talk to that person, what would you tell
I'd be like, baby,
them?
pull up your bootstraps and don't let anybody get in your way.
You heard? I love that. I love that.
Don't ever let anybody tell you get in the way of your happiness because I tell my kids this shit all the time. When I am dead and gone, it is you.
Mm-hmm.
Just you. Nobody else going to work every day.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody living your life but you. You got to make yourself happy. And trust me when I tell you this. Your life, oh my God, it's so damn short.
Oh, it's fickle.
And I can't believe where I'm at right now. I can't believe that I'm 55. Well, I'll be 55 this year. And I, again, I don't regret anything, but I'll tell you, it does. It goes fast. So
Yeah.
do whatever you want to do. Life goes too quick.
That's what I'm talking about. Live this thing up to the fullest, man. For those out there that are watching it, for those out there that are listening, I truly hope you gained some values and you collected some gems on this journey that we just took over
Because you
here.
know you want to see me back.
Ow! Yes. Oh yeah, we're gonna have her back. You better believe that. This energy is necessary for the world to see. And
Oh my
I
goodness.
want to thank all of y'all for listening in. And I want to say, go out there, do something beautiful. The world's counting on you.
Yeah, it is
And
a beautiful day. And thank you for listening to me because I appreciate that. I don't think anybody wants to listen to me, but somebody does.
I would listen to you all the time. I think you got something you got something special. You got, and it's gonna be obvious when this goes out. You got something special,
Oh,
and I want to say
thank you
this.
for having me so
Oh
much.
man,
I appreciate you. Thank you.
you know what? This is the first time, not the last time. I know that one for a
Oh,
fact. I
sounds
know
good
that
to
for a
me.
fact. So this world's a blank canvas. It is up to each and every one of us to grab our paint brushes and paint away and create a masterpiece together. So that's what we're gonna do. That's what you're gonna do. Go out there, do something beautiful. We out.
Peace.
That was dope.
Thank you so
This was
much.
fun.